All right, so we'll continue on again. We're going to play with the time and some things like that, trying to create this calendar method. But we had a question about how would we create a link to a mail-to link, right? A mail-to link looks like mail-to something. I don't even remember how to write one in HTML. It's an A tag, right? And it's an href equals mail to dave@lockersoft.com, etc. Right? Email me. So that creates a mail to tag. Let's see, what is this? The calendar page. So let's see what it looks like. It's got to email me, and the hover down below here says mail to Dave@Lockersoft. Why is that a bad thing to do? Right, just like I've done in this video, right? So spammers use spider crawlers like Google does to index the internet. They spider crawl the web pages in the same way, looking for email addresses. And they harvest email addresses from websites. So this is very easy. You could write, by now, you used to be able to write a regular expression to look at HTML page and pick out all the internet email addresses, right? You should be able to do that in your sleep. Easy stuff, right? So that's always a problem. So people don't do that. A lot of cases, we tell you don't use a mail to tag. Put your email in an image and make people use that. They have to read the GIF or the JPEG that you put it in. But Rails has a way, and they change it all the time. Let's see what they have now. We have a mail to tag, like we have a link to method. So a link to and a mail to. So this will create a link to a mail to tag, and we can pass it some additional information. And to obfuscate it, they used to do this automatically for you, and I see now Rails 4 doesn't. We have to install this other gem to make the mail to work correctly. But it would obfuscate that, meaning it would make it hard for you to just use a regular expression on the HTML to grab the email address. So the mail to tag looks like this. It's going to be ERB mail to as a method, and we're going to pass it my email address and maybe the email me link to go inside of the click text. Let's put a break tag here and see what that looks like. So I now get an email me. It says the same thing. And so it's not obfuscated unless I install that gem like they talked about. So theoretically, I could install this gem, Action View Encoded Mail to Gem. We could try it. Let's try it. Why not? So let's go to a DOS prompt and do a gem install paste Action View Encoded Mail to. And see if this actually works. So installed it now on the system, but how do I make my Rails application know that I want to use this gem? I have to put it in the gem file. Very good. So I go to my RubyMine, I open up my gem file, I do a gem method, and I pass it the name of the gem that I want to install, and then in order for my project to use this, I have to run the bundle, right? So I say bundler install, and that will make sure that my project uses that gem. And I'm going to go ahead and restart my server just so it picks up this new gem. And we'll reload this page and see if it did anything to it. I give no... all right. So let's look at the source and see, hey, look at that. Look how much different it is. Not. So obviously I didn't do something right. That their documentation leaves something to be desired here. So this mailto somehow requires, I don't know. Yeah, but it doesn't. I mean, there's nothing in that source that showed me that. So we'll have to see. There's something wrong with that, obviously. All right, so we've wasted enough time on that. Go Rails, yay. Love changes for change's sake. So let's move on to our little calendar method. And my assignment says to create a calendar and create a method given the month and the year. All right, so we need to change my little calendar method here to receive the month and the year that I want to create the calendar for, right? Because given a month and a year, I should be able to create a calendar for any month and year throughout the centuries, right? That should be enough for me. So I'm going to pass in a month and year to my calendar method, and then I have to change that to receive the month and the year, right, in my method. So I'm going to receive month and year, and based on those values now, I'm going to do something. So let's just print these out for now. Let's print them out at the end because I already have my table. Remember, I'm creating a table that I'm printing to the screen, and my calendar returns what type of data? A string, okay? And my main program, my calendar page, all it does is print out the value of that string. And remember, the HTML safe did what? Right, it's safe to print it out. So otherwise it would print out like a less than as an ampersand LT semicolon. So we want to print it. We know that there's HTML in the string. We know it's safe, so allow it to be sent to the browser as real HTML. All right, so let's go and let's just add to my calendar string the month is, just so I can see my data, is going to be the month that I pass in, and the year is going to be the year that I pass in, just so I can see the data come through my calendar. All right. Now, the problem is my day of week is now bad, so I'm just going to define this for now. Day of week is 4, just to have something hard-coded. All right, so have I done everything I need to do? No, I get an error. So these errors are useful. It lets me, tells me exactly what controller it is, what method in that controller is being called, and then it tells me where that source is, and it's in this application calendar.html.erb. There we go, nice and big. And it tells me what line it is. So this is the problem. Month is not defined yet. Month and year are not defined yet. So let's just hard code them for now in my controller. Let's just say that month is, actually, where would be a better place to define these? No. The controller, right? The controller is where I defined the time, for instance. So let's create some more instance variable called month. And we'll call it 4 and year. If I can type, find an @ sign. Year is 2013 for now. So now I've defined those in my controller. In my view now, instead of just month and year, I'm going to use the instance variables month and year. And those now, these values get passed to my calendar method, my calendar method makes use of them and prints them out. All right, everybody with me so far? Let's reload my page. All right, look at that. Month is 4, year is 2013. Sweet. All right, any questions on that so far? All right, now later on we're going to take these values and have them be part of the URL so that we can pass in different values for this and that we can create links that go to the next month and the previous month. So that's why I'm doing that for now. Our calendar method won't change though. It's only going to be relying on the fact that I'm going to have a year and a month passed into that method. So let's flesh out that calendar so that it prints out. I'll give you the code for the first row. Okay, I'm so nice. So let's work on that code and figure out, given the month and year, what's the first information I need when I print out the first row of the calendar? Okay. First day of the month. I need to know what day the first day of the month falls on. Whether it's a Sunday, a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? I need to know where in that row do I put a 1. And the rest of the row is, the first part of that row is going to be blanks, and then I'm going to put my 1 and 2 and 3 up until the end of that 7-day period, right? That's the first week of my calendar. So given that information, I have a month and a year. How do I use that to create or to find the first day of the month? Anybody have an idea? Google it. Good idea. So let's go to, this is standard straight Ruby code. So I'm going to look at the documentation for the date method. Be sure to skip past these adds. And this is the date class. And the date class lets me create dates as well as format the dates, right? So I can create a new date given some values, right? So the new method lets me create, let's look at the new, it doesn't have it here. It's right here, I guess, is where they're saying their constructor lets me add information. And this will create what type of an object? A date object. Yay! So given the month and a year, I can say my current date is, I'm going to assign it a new date object where I'm going to pass the year and the month and the day. All right? I want the first day of this month. All right, so then at the bottom here, let's just keep printing out some stuff so I can see that. Let's add my date and print out the date, which is current date. And let's see what that looks like. Crash. All right, date for this class, it raised in line 10. So there is no date method here, right? So how do I, where is that error? In the calendar method, right? It doesn't get me exactly. It knows that it crashed here, so I need to go into here where I created the date. So this date method here, there's some PHP and C# creeping in. So my new date, it doesn't like my new date method. Why? There you go. See, there's a language problem. This is Java, which I'm teaching now. So this is date.new. Yeah, we're talking. Got to get your languages straight. So let's reload that page. I did that on purpose so you could see an error. So here we go. This is the date object printed out as the 1st of April. That took me a while to figure out. April April the 1st, so this is April Fool's 2013. All right? So now I have a date object. I can do stuff with this date object to find out where the first day of the month is. So let's go back to our date and look at this strf time. Where is that? This is the method that allows me to format a particular date object into different things. And let's see if I can find something in here that's useful. The day of the year, that would give me from 0 to 366. The time, the weekday, the day of the week. Oh, that's pretty useful, right? I want to know what is the day of the week in terms of a number. It's going to give me a number between 1 and 7. And I want Sunday to be 0. So I'm going to, and you can do it either way you want, but I'm going to make Sunday the first day of the week. And so 0 is going to be Sunday. So if I use this percent lowercase w, I can get back a number, right? Everybody see that? So the day of the week is going to be my current date dot strf time with the quote percent lower w, and that will return a value into my day of week. So let's print that out and see what it looks like. It was called day of week, right? All right, so here we go. Bada boom, bada bing. Got a crash. Good. I can't run times for this. So what is the problem with that? All right, good. So what returns from that string to formatted time, strf time, it returns a string. So if I want to use that as a number or a counter in my loop, I have to convert it into a integer. And how do I do that? 2i, very good. So I would do that right here. I can just say .2i, right? Now, day of week is what type of variable? Integer. I can call it in my loop, which is day of week dot times do. And it should print out now. So let's see what we get. Reload. Isn't that better? No implicit conversion of fixed num into string. So that is on the same place. Not very useful in this case, right? So you got to print it out to string. Right? I'm trying to add an integer to my calendar string. That's the failure. So I could say .2s here, right? I'm going to throw away all this code anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. So we'll reload that. There we go. So now I get 1. So April 2013, the first day of the week started on a Monday. So my code already prints out a blank space, and then my Monday is here. So let's make sure that that's correct. Let's go back in time to April. And April 1st does indeed start on a Monday. Right?
That's something to work today.
What do you mean?
That actually worked.
It did. Yeah, surprising, huh? It did actually work. Surprising, huh? Wow. Confidence in me is going downhill. So now what do I need to do? I've got a blank space. My 1 starts here, and then Tuesday would be what? And Wednesday would be 4, 5, 6, and that fills out my first week. So I need a loop in here. I've already printed my spaces up to the point where I've run out of spaces, and now I need another loop to print out the values, okay? So let's look at my code here. Any questions before I move on? I know I was going pretty fast there, so.
Why you do it this way rather than just use a jQuery?
Because it's a Rails app, first of all. Second of all, jQuery, I could do it in jQuery, but it would be then run on the browser itself. And it would be then more difficult to insert things like events, right? So I could do that, and there are some frameworks out there that do that. Node.js, for instance, lets you do some things like that. But here I could take this and insert data from a database at the same time I'm laying out the calendar. So that would be the reason, I would think. Another question? Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around why you, up on line 5, set the current date to an integer, but then you go back down to line 20 and you set it back to a string.
This is just to print it out to see that I got something. This is going to go away. I'm going to throw this away. These are debugging statements that I use to see what I got. So all of that's going to be trashed. What I need is day of week then becomes a counter in this method here.
Okay.
So day of week, I'm going to run this day of week time, so I need it to be an integer. So if day of week is 1, I'm going to do a 1.timesDo, and I'm going to print one space, one blank cell. If day of week is 2, I'm going to print 2 blank cells. Okay? All right, so good. So now I can print the days of week starting with 1 in another loop. All right, so how would I construct this loop? How do I know how many to print? Okay, close. 7 minus day of week. Okay, what would be 7 minus day of week? So 7 minus day of week, I can say dot times do, right? Same thing. Day. So if day of week is 1, I take 1 away from 7, I'm going to do this loop 6 times. So that makes sense. If day of week is 4, then I'm going to have 4 spaces, and then I'm going to do this loop 7 minus 4 times, which is 3. So that all adds up to 7. See, everything is based around 7. And the rest of your loops for the rest of the method, which I'm not going to write for you, are based around 7. 7 is your length of your week, right? So that gives me a counter. I'm going to do this 7 minus day of week times. And I want to print out something similar to this. I want to print a cell.
Cal variable is just a string that you're adding to.
Right, that's my string that I'm continually adding information to because my calendar method returns a string. I'm not printing inside my method. Okay? Yes? Okay, good. All right, so instead of a blank space, though, I need to print the actual day of the week. So how do I get that? I need to have a counter somehow, right? My day doesn't quite work for me because day is going to be what? It actually goes from 0 up to this. So I could use day, but I have to modify day instead. Now I just need a number. I'm going to print a 1, and then I'm going to print a 2, and then a 3, and a 4 until I run out of loop. I didn't use my day. Right, I didn't use it yet. And I don't need it up here. We'll take that out. But I have it here. Day is going to be the value. So let's just put it in here and see what I get. All right? Let's put in day and see what actually gets printed out. Look at that. Pretty close. 0, 1, 2, 3. That's pretty close. There you go. So I have my day already. I do day plus 1, and bada boom, bada bing. I got my first week of the calendar all happy and sweet. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that nice? Need some CSS? That's your problem. You guys have to fix it to do CSS. So it depends on what you passed in. So I have mine hard-coded as April 2013. So let's go back to my page here in my controller, and let's change this to October instead. So this would be, what, 10, 2013? And let's reload this. and now it's starting on Tuesday. So the date for October 1st does indeed start on a Tuesday. Isn't that great? So let's go to another one. Okay, here's Friday. Let's change it to November. In my controller, I would hard code my month to 11. Reload my page, and it should now have a 1 starting on Friday. Beautiful. All right, any questions on that? Yes?
So to advance it to the next line, you do a row plus 1.
Probably just the same. UTR.
Well, the first row is a special row because I have these blanks in it, right? The rows between this first row and the last row are the same rows. The loop that would produce those are exactly the same because you're just incrementing a number. So the next row is going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the next row after that's going to be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So those between are easy. So that's another loop. I would add another loop here in my calendar method. I would have another loop here, which I'm not going to write for you. Loop to do the in-between rows. And then I need a final loop to do the last row, because that's going to be a special loop as well, depending on how you write it. All right, so the last row is going to end somewhere in the middle of the week, and I'm going to run out of days, and then I'm going to print spaces, blank cells, until I get to the end of the week. So I have a full square calendar, right? Does that make sense? This is just like the PHP one you guys did, but
Middle loop, a loop inside of a loop?
no, this one, maybe, yes, I'd have 2 loops for this, sure. Because I need to loop across and I need to loop down. I need to loop for each week, and then, each week, and then for each day on the week would be inside of that loop. Yes, loop within a loop.
So then there wouldn't be any difference for like a leap year, correct?
There is, but you're going to have to loop in between here and do the final loop based on some information that you get from the date itself. So if I happen to be in February on a leap year, I need to know how many days that are in that month. All right? So let's look at our SDRF time, and I can see how many days are in a month. Let's see if we have a method for that. I have the week number. I don't have the actual number of days in the month. PHP has this, I think. So how would I figure that out? Google it. All right, so think logically, if I don't have that, how can I find out how many days are in a month, given a date object? Good question, huh? No, you couldn't do that for every...
The math like we did in the leap years assignment.
Kind of, yeah.
Find out the number of days, well, what day of the year it is.
All right, so let's do an IRB in here, and so let's say that I'll call it February equals date dot new of 2013 to 1. All right, that's bizarre. What did I do wrong? No, that's the date. That's the date new. So what did I do wrong? Stop recording. All right, so I need to require date. Yet another Ruby change. So my date, February is now a date object, right? And I can say feb.strftime. I can say, how about what would be March? Date.new 2013. What would it be? 3-1, right? So March 1st is 1 day greater than the end of February, right? So if I take March and subtract 1 from it, I'm going to get the date of the last day of the month of the prior month. Does that make sense? So then I can say, what day is that? And I can figure out the 28th. So I need to take my date, add 1 to the month, and create another date object, subtract 1 from it to get the day of the week, day of the last month, the prior month. All right? Does that make sense? Then once I have that date object, I can figure out there's 28 days in that month. So it doesn't matter if it's a leap year. If it's a leap year, that'll be 29, and my calculation will still work correctly. So I'm going to need to know how many days there are in a month. I hate to give that to you, so I'll leave that for you to do. I'm going to need that so that I know when to stop my date counter. All right, any questions on that? There, I wrote the whole code for you. Just beautiful. So tomorrow we will take this, and instead of hard coding it, obviously this is not very useful, right? I want to take that from the URL so that I can have links to go forward and backward in the month and show last month's calendar and next month's calendar. And you'll see it's very nice in Rails to do that. All right, that's enough for today. Any questions?